Okay, right then, so Westland Wallace, here we go. So I've had a quick look at the plans and, well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start cutting some parts out first, and most of it, in the first instance, for example, formers and these keels that I need are going to be 1/16 inch balsa, which is good. The stringers will be balsa 1/16, and most of that I'll just take off the same sheet of balsa basically. So the first thing I'm going to cut out is these formers off of this sheet here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a tiny little thing 6. So this is one set, there'll be another set. So I'm just quickly going to slice these from the plan. This is the advantage of printing your plans, because I wouldn't want to do this to a nice full-size plan that might have come with the kit originally. I may or may not need that. I probably will actually use, I quite like these. I can use this instrument panel, just that will be cut out and stuck in directly. Paper's heavy, but there's only a small bit. And then there's a template on there for the windshield when the time comes, so I'll save this piece of paper, or I'll print the plan out again. So that's my pattern. There's some balsa wood. Okay, I've given this a light sounding already. It's easier to sound the balsa before we cut the parts out than sounding the parts. It's quite nice to take the fuzz off. Okay, so what I do, I quite like this. I won't blow the sawdust because it'll just give me eyes. I like to put stick the pattern to the balsa, and then I can just cut them around directly. It's the easiest way I've found to transfer the plan to the balsa. And they space out quite a lot on here, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to just cut a strip of paper out so I can put these on and save a bit of balsa wood. So I'm going to put them on like that. I'm going to have the grain going sideways, that will give it a little bit of lateral strength so that I don't crush it with my fat hands. There's no indication on the plan which way the grain should be going, so therefore it's up to me, and I'll do what I like. Some might argue that the grain should go vertically, but I reckon I'll just squash the fuselage sideways if I did that. So anyway, let's get these ready. I'm going to chuck the bits of paper on the floor, I don't care, my workshop, I'll sweep it up later. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I'm just cutting them out rough. I'll stick them on the balsa, cut round to near the line, and I'll finish off the shape with a sanding block, and I'll sand it to halfway across. So I'll aim to split the line in half so there's still some line showing. And that way I know that I've got the shape about right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is a tiny little thing. I'm going to keep a strip of paper on there to give me something to cling on to. It's a reasonably sharp blade, but it's a very old blade. I just keep resharpening it. I don't really buy new blades. At the moment the 6th former is very small. I'm not sure which way up it's supposed to go. Doesn't really matter at this moment. So I'm going to just leave that bottom strip long, give me something to hold on to. Simple old Pritt stick. Let's take these out of the way. What have I done that for? Okay, so number 1. What's good to be cutting? Parts out again. I've done this a while. Right, number 1. On there. Number 2. This Pritt stick's a bit old and gloopy. Never mind. I could be super efficient with this balsa wood and tessellate the parts, but to be honest I can't be bothered. 3. I should be really strict with my balsa wood use really, because seeing as they've cornered the market for wind turbines or something. 4. 5. And the last one. This is why I've kept a little bit of paper on there. I'm just putting glue on just where the formulas are. The idea is I'll cut these out, then I can dampen the paper and just peel them off, because this Pritt stick is not waterproof. Yeah, they're ready. I just need to let that dry just a little bit, otherwise the paper will mush up. It's hard to cut. Okay, so I'll come back in a few minutes, half an hour or so, and I'm going to start cutting those out. Cool. Okay, so let's get these cut out. So I'm going to, I think what I'll do, I'll just release these parts from the sheet of balsa, so I'm not handling a large sheet of balsa wood. That's just going to be a nuisance. So let's just take out, release the piece I need. Normally I'd just go straight across, but I'm trying to keep a long length of balsa wood there for the stringers. Okay, so that is 6 formers, that's half of them. Obviously this is just one half of the fuselage. Always use a rule to, a straight edge to work to. So the top and the bottom of the former, where they join in the middle, need to be nice and straight. Nice gentle strokes with a knife. No point hacking through it in one go. Probably sounds more harsh than it actually is. This board here does amplify the sound quite a lot. So whether you've got a straight edge, I will cut it with the straight edge and they can go straight on the line then. Just slightly out of the line. Like I said earlier, I'm going to sand it finally to the final line with a sanding block, so I don't need to cut it exactly. The paper does dull the blade quite surprisingly quickly, so before I do anything else I will have to resharpen my blade. Where am I going to go there? So you've got to get through that paper and then through the balsa wood. And it's better to do a couple of really light strokes with a knife than one hard one. 1, 2. I won't cut out this middle section yet, I'll leave that for a moment, because I want to cut the notches out. I'll do that with a little sanding tool that I will make. I need a new one. Take that out. Take that out. And again, there's some fine notches here that hook over the central keel, the outline of the aeroplane, which obviously need to be half the thickness of the keel, which is going to be 1/16. It's going to be quite tricky to get that spot on, but I'll show you that I'll use my ruler. I've got a metal rule which is just about half 1/16 sheet of balsa, so in theory 1/32 of an inch, and I'll use that as a guide to make sure I've got the depth of those notches right, but we'll do that later. So that's roughly cut out to the line. I've got a nice long sounding block, and I will literally just use that to take that balsa back to one set, trying to be consistent from one piece to the next. I'm not going to do video all of these because it's boring to watch, so I'll fast forward this next bit. So yeah, I'll see when I've done. I'll do the notches next. Good. Okay. Started. We're building. Fantastic. Okay, I've cut all the bits out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 2. So I've got a port side and a stud side. I need to make a notching tool to do the notches. I also need some stringers. So what I want to do is I'll just cut my own off the same sheet that I cut the formers out from. I need them to be just one piece. So I need them to be the length of the fuselage. So if I can quickly find the plan, just to make sure I get the length correct. Here we go. I need them to be, that's perfect, I'll make them the length of my ruler. They'll be plenty long enough. Another section there, perfect. So literally I'm just going to slice them down. I'm going to do it by eye because I just can't be bothered to measure them accurately. That'll do pig, as it were. I mean, you get used to what 1/16 width looks like. That looks good to me, so I'm just going to cut a load of those out. So there's one. I'll literally use one of these stringers to make a tool for notching the stringers out. I'll just put a stick of a brace of paper on one side, stick it to a piece of wood which will act as a depth stop. Obviously if I'm making my tool for cutting the notches out from one of the stringers I'm going to use, it will be the right width. So let's do one more and then we'll fast forward, I think. Okay, I'm going to sharpen the knife as well. Just cutting through that paper has dulled my blade. So right then, so the keel calls for a wider strip, so it's more like 3/16 of an inch, so I've cut one of those. The bottom keel I'll do with 2 stringers or 3 stringers, and I'll laminate them to hold the shape rather than do it in the 2 pieces. It shows, okay, so it shows 2 pieces then there. The other 2 pieces are just simple straight pieces. That, I think, because it's curved, I'd rather have a single keel in one piece than have this scarf joint in the middle. So shush, don't tell the judges, that's deviation from plan. Once I've got that, well, basically I'm in a position now, I've got the stringers cut out, I've got that piece cut out, which will do that one and that one. I've got my formers waiting to be notched. Once I've got these notched and cut these centre sections out, then I'm ready to start building the fuselage, which is exciting. So notching next. Cool. Okay, I've got my notching tool, which is basically, I took one of the stringers I cut, 1/16 square, stuck it to some abrasive paper, and I've stuck that onto a piece of wood. So I've got like a fancy file, but it'll stop me sanding out those notches too deep. So now I've got that, I can get the notches done. I'm going to do the notches before cutting that out, otherwise it would be too fragile and break all the parts. So keeping that central piece in for the moment gives it some strength so I can handle the pieces whilst I do this. That should now take one of these stringers quite happily. It pops in there perfectly, so I'm happy with that. So I'm going to cut all these notches out now, and then I'm going to take out that central piece carefully. I'm going to sand out these notches that go over the keels when I come to fitting them over the keel, so I can do them individually and give them some individual attention. Okay. I forgot to match my formers up, so I've got my port side and starboard side formers, put them together. I just want to give them a quick sand to make sure they're identical. So I'm going to do that and then carry on with my notches. Pretty close anyway, and it wouldn't hurt to notch those together. Make sure the notches are in the same place. Then you've got some symmetry. Lovely. Okay, so I've just cut all these, I've done all the notches on these formers. I've finished these tiddly little ones and decided whilst I was doing that they're just silly. No need to cut this inside piece out, there's nothing to be gained from doing that, it just makes them ridiculously fragile. The grain on these I might as well have actually going up and down rather than sideways, so I could use those, but actually I decided it would be much easier to just cut some out 3/16 wide 16 sheet. So I've done that, I've cut the notches out, cut its length,
So I did the notches first, and then it's much easier to do it with a long piece, so you can hold, you've got something to hold on to, and then I can trim that to length, and I've got essentially the same part, just better. Sometimes you get these silly little pieces and there's a better way of doing it, at no real cost. I've already cut this piece ready. I've got plenty of this strip left to do the keel, so that's what I did. So it's not a cheat, it's just a sensible development. So I'll trim that to length and we're ready to cut out the central sections, and then I can start actually assembling the fuselage, which would be the next video, which would be fun. It'd be nice to see something actually going together. So I've got 2 pairs now of whatever number that is. It says looks like number 8 on there, but I'm sure it should read number 6. Great. So I mean, in terms of cutting these bits out, it's simple. Just take care. I'm going to cut these sections out in the middle. I'll give them a little bit of a sand so they're nice and tidy, and then I'll have to put the plan onto my building board and start building, putting the keel together, and then I'm going to match these notches to suit as I go. So yeah, parts practically cut out. Next video will be assembly. Hurrah! Pause that for a second whilst I just point out that it's a good idea to cut across the grain first before you cut along the grain. So do the cross grain cuts first, start from the corner and work towards the centre. I'm using my fingers to clamp that piece down so it doesn't try and move, because as soon as you try and, sometimes if you drag it you can bend it and split the former. So turn it around to get the other corner. There's a big fat notch in former 2, something to do with a machine gun that comes out the side of the fuselage, which is quite exciting. We're getting that centre section out from the corner towards the centre, lines join up, and your final cut will be along the grain. It'll be nice and easy. Get through that paper first, and then that should just come out like that. And same again here. I managed to cut across the grain first, and that notch. Just finish it off carefully through the paper first. Surprisingly tough to cut through that paper. There we go. And I haven't damaged any formers so far, which is another good reason why I quite like this paper method, because it helps support the wood underneath whilst you're cutting it out. It gives it a little bit of strength for you, whilst you're working on them. I'll leave it on as well because it's got the marks on, so I can keep track of what's what. I'll take these off when I come to build. Okay, I'm using a mixture of sanding files sort of thing here. I've got sanding paper wrapped around a pan for the curved bits. Some of the wife's best nail emery board things. She doesn't care because she doesn't know. Keep nicking her nose, she wonders where they go, but they're here. But whatever, they're only cheap. She can always buy some more, can't she? So yeah, so I have. That's just wrapped around a pan. It's really good for the curved bits. It's nice to get these nice and tidy. Nice wide one for the straight bits, and then a narrower one for the awkward narrow bits. Whatever works really. These are pretty good. Okay, put these in here. Get lost otherwise. Keep those just in case. There's little ones to spare. Up there. I'm going to get my plan out ready so we can start building. stringers in the pot there. Perfect. Get that out of the way and knife up there.